Friday evening. The dojo doors opened early. A tall black man stepped inside. Late 50s. Shoulders a little bent. His GI was crisp, too new. A plain white belt tied tight at the waist. Clean. Centered. Military neat. He moved like someone used to being overlooked. "Sorry I'm late," he said, voice calm. "Got work at 7. Just trying to loosen up." The young instructor barely looked up, just nodded him toward the back row. He bowed in like the rest. Shadowed every move. One beat behind. No ego, no noise. Across the mat, a brown belt watched him. Whispered something to his friend. Laughed. Their circle of whispering got louder. During partner drills, the man was respectful. Soft hands. No corrections. He let them shove. Let them test him. He didn't push back. But one phone caught 10 seconds of it, and later, when everything blew up, that clip was the first thing people shared. The belt was white. The dojo was full. But nobody knew who they let in. Watch till the end. Then check that belt again. Comment if you caught it early. Follow so you don't miss what comes next. The alarm went off at 4:47 a.m. It always did. Not 4:45. Not 5 o'clock. 4:47. Ever since the day his daughter was born. That was the minute she took her first breath. That number stayed with him. Stayed sacred. Quentin Shaw sat up slowly. Back stiff. Knees stubborn. The cold hit different now. Not sharp, but lingering. Like it knew where the aches lived. The apartment was quiet. One bedroom, 4th floor. The building creaked like it had a memory. Pipes rattled when he turned on the water. His GI hung near the radiator. Washed last night. Folded on a wire hanger. He reached for it with care, shaking out the sleeves like it was something alive. He made tea. No sugar. Packed his bento for later. Brown rice, baked chicken, seaweed. Wrote his name on the lid in small block letters. People sometimes took the wrong box in the break room. His job wasn't glamorous. Night shift logistics at the Port Authority. 12 hours. Walking, lifting, scanning. He kept his mouth shut, moved boxes better than anyone else, and read military history on his breaks. He still got called sir by younger men. Something in his posture, or maybe his silence, made people straighten up when he passed. But here, in this life, no one really knew who he was. At 6:02 a.m., he walked down the stairwell. The elevator in his building hadn't worked in 3 years. He never reported it. Didn't need it. Outside, the sun was just beginning to spill through the brick gaps. He walked to the corner store. Same as every Friday. Bought 2 onigiri, salmon and UME. The cashier, an older Korean woman, always greeted him in a soft whisper. "Morning, Mr. Shaw." He nodded back, bowed slightly. He was always in uniform. Always pressed. But today, he wore something different. The GI. Folded over one arm. Belt tucked neatly through the sleeves. White belt. Still stiff. The younger guy behind the register noticed. Looked confused. "Starting karate?" "Going back," Quentin said. Then paused. "Starting from the beginning." He took the number 2 bus out toward Millwood. There was a dojo there, small, tucked behind a vape shop and a used car dealer. He had passed it twice a week for the last year. The sign outside had peeled letters that once said discipline over ego. He liked that. Didn't know if anyone inside believed it. By 6:51 a.m., he was standing in front of the dojo entrance. Still closed. A group of teens were already waiting outside, stretching half-heartedly. One of them, brown hair, loud voice, was telling a story with too much confidence. Something about a sparring match where he made a guy cry. Quentin waited a few feet away. Didn't interrupt. Didn't make eye contact. When the instructor arrived at 7:01, the kids filed in quickly. Quentin followed last. "Sir," the instructor said, looking him up and down. "I was wondering if I could join the class," Quentin said. "Beginner level." The instructor glanced at the belt. White. Hesitated. "We're mostly youth in this slot, but sure. You've practiced before." Quentin smiled gently. "Long time ago. Just looking to move. Got work in the evening." "All right." The instructor pointed to the back row. "Warm-up's 10 minutes. Follow along best you can." Quentin bowed. Walked to the rear corner. Laid his GI top over a bench. tightened his belt once more. The dojo was plain. Mirrors on one wall, bamboo flooring, posters of kata charts and tournament dates. Fluorescent lights buzzed faintly overhead. They began warm-ups. Quentin mirrored everything. Slow, controlled. Not out of breath, just cautious. The brown-haired kid, Kyle, kept glancing over, whispering to his friends. One of them snorted. When they moved to drills, Quentin stayed in sync. No extra flair. No mistakes. But he didn't speak. Didn't show off. The tension started small. A glance. A nudge. A pair of eyes rolling when he bowed slightly too deep. Someone muttered "try hard" under their breath. But Quentin didn't break rhythm. Didn't react. After class, he waited outside for the bus. Didn't want to change clothes. Didn't have time. Work started at 8:15 sharp. One of the kids walked past him, glanced down at the belt, said not bad for an old guy. Then kept walking. Didn't wait for a response. Quentin looked out at the lot, exhaled through his nose, adjusted his bag strap. That night, after his shift, he sat on the edge of his bed and checked his messages. Nothing urgent. Just a reminder from his daughter. Don't forget Saturday. Dinner with Cam's parents. Wear a shirt with buttons, please, LOL. He smiled. Typed got it. Then paused. Scrolled through his photos. Found an old one. Barely visible. Blurry. But you could still see the belt black. 11 gold stripes. He stared at it for a while. Then deleted it. That Saturday morning, he made a small decision. Something he hadn't done in decades. He packed his gloves, his old mouth guard, and a roll of athletic tape, just in case. And for the first time since returning, he tied his white belt with a single knot. Not the ceremonial one. Not the fast learner's wrap. The original knot. The one that says, "I'm here to learn." Or maybe, "I'm watching." He arrived at the dojo 5 minutes early. This time, he stretched alone near the mirror. Kyle walked in late, hoodie on. Didn't bow at the door. Made a joke Quentin didn't catch. His friends laughed anyway. They were paired for sparring drills. Rotation-based. Light contact only. Kyle's strikes were fast. Sloppy. Performed for the audience. Quentin blocked them without aggression. Maintained distance. Let the rhythm stay playful. Then came the low sweep. Unprompted. Not in the curriculum. Quentin stepped over it without a word. The room went quiet for half a second. Kyle grinned. "You sure you're in the right class, old man?" Quentin just bowed. The drill resumed. But that look was there, in Kyle's eyes. That need to prove something. That itch to make someone smaller. And for a second, just a flicker, Quentin glanced at the wall. At the framed black and white photo of Master Hanzo Tanaka. His old teacher. His last teacher. Before the fall. Before the years vanished. The photo wasn't hung straight. One side drooped slightly. He stepped forward to fix it. Lifted the corner gently. "Yo, it's not your house," Kyle said, loud enough for the room. Quentin didn't answer. Just stepped back. That was the moment. The one that bent everything. A photo. A belt. A white GI on an old back. And a kid who didn't know what time it really was. Saturday afternoon. The mat smelled like sweat and old tape. The air was still warm from the last class. Quentin arrived early again. Same routine. Same spot. He bowed at the door, walked to the back corner, and started stretching. The floor creaked where he stood. The dojo was quieter than usual. A few kids trickled in slowly. Kyle wasn't there yet. His friends were. One of them, short hair, cocky, looked over and said, "Man's back for round 2. Another replied, "He trying to get his steps in before the retirement home." They laughed, not loud. Just enough to carry. Quentin ignored it. Rolled his shoulders. Tied his belt. Same single knot. Clean and tight. The instructor arrived 2 minutes late, holding a coffee. He looked more tired than usual. Waved everyone to line up, without much energy. Today's class was focused on countering aggression. Controlled redirection. The instructor called it. Quentin smiled faintly at that. The phrase had history. They partnered up. No one offered to work with Quentin. The instructor noticed. Paired him with Kyle by default. "Try not to hurt each other," he said, half joking. Kyle smirked. No promises. The first round was simple. Slow motion strikes. One person attacks, the other redirects, changes position, resets. Kyle threw faster than he was supposed to. Quentin adjusted. Kyle leaned in with extra contact. Elbow brushed ribs. Knee followed too close. Quentin kept his footing. Stayed calm. Didn't overcorrect. But something changed in his posture, just slightly. Weight shifted more to the back foot. Hands moved with more awareness. Kyle noticed. His eyes sharpened. "You done this before?" he asked. Quentin said nothing. Just reset his stance. "You move like my uncle when he's trying not to fall," Kyle added. "All careful and stuff." No reaction. Third drill, inside block with redirection. Kyle exaggerated the motion, spun with it, and slammed his forearm into Quentin's. Not enough to injure, but hard. Way harder than the drill required. "Oops," Kyle said. "You good?" Quentin looked at him. Not angry. Just measured. "I'm fine." They reset. Next round, Quentin was the attacker. His strike came in slow, textbook. Kyle flinched anyway. Laughed nervously. "Damn, you got the scary face down too." Still no response. The instructor wasn't watching. He was helping two white belts near the front. Quentin glanced over once, checked, then looked away. That's when Kyle stepped it up. Palm strike, not part of the drill, aimed straight at Quentin's chest. A real strike. No control. Quentin blocked softly. No counter. Kyle grinned. Fast reflexes for someone your age. One of Kyle's friends recorded a few seconds. Whispered, "Yo, send me that later." Quentin heard it. Didn't respond. They took a water break. Quentin stood by the wall. Hands behind his back. Breathing slow. Kyle walked over. Pretending to stretch. "You ever gonna tell us where you trained?" he asked. "Or are you just watching YouTube tutorials?" "I trained," Quentin said. Kyle raised an eyebrow. "Cool. Where at?" "Long time ago. Like Bruce Lee era." Quentin let that one sit in the air. No reaction. Kyle leaned closer. "You know, some people come here pretending they forgot everything just to feel special again. Like, oh, I'm humble. But they just want attention." Quentin turned his head slightly. Looked him in the eyes. "Calm. Still. You done talking?" he asked. Kyle took half a step back. "Just trying to have a conversation." Quentin nodded. "Then have one. Not a performance." The instructor clapped. Back on the mat. They returned to pairs. This time, full-speed defense sequences. Controlled contact. Kyle immediately opened with a combination that wasn't part of the lesson. Jab, cross, elbow roll. Quentin deflected cleanly. Never moved from his spot. Kyle reset. A little harder. Threw in a low sweep. Quentin stepped back just enough. Didn't counter. The instructor noticed this time. Called out. "Kyle, stick to the drill." "Sorry, sensei," Kyle said. "He's fast." I panicked. More laughs. Half the room had stopped watching their own drills. Next round, rotation. Kyle was supposed to move on. Quentin was meant to pair with someone else. But Kyle stayed where he was. "Let me take one more with him," he said to the instructor. "We're figuring stuff out." The instructor shrugged. Didn't argue. Quentin didn't say anything. The drill now, escape from wrist grab. Kyle grabbed harder than needed. Squeezed. Quentin broke the grip with the standard escape. Kyle caught his wrist again, tighter. The instructor looked up. "Switch partners now." Kyle didn't move. "Wait, I just want to try it from the other side." The instructor hesitated. "Make it quick." Kyle smiled. He grabbed again. Pulled. Quentin twisted slightly, soft motion, effortless, broke free again. But this time, Kyle didn't reset. He threw a knee. Fast. Not a drill. Not defense. Quentin stepped back in time. Blocked. No counter. Just stared. Kyle stepped forward again. One more feint. Quentin caught his elbow gently. Redirected it. Kyle stumbled. Still nothing excessive. But now the whole room was watching. The instructor called time. "Kyle. Water break." Kyle threw his hands up. "What? We were just working." "You were pushing it. Sit down for 5. Kyle turned to Quentin. Smiled. "Respect, man. You're tougher than you look." He walked off slow. Whispered to his friend on the way. He thinks he's slick. Gonna make him earn that fake belt next time. Quentin stood in place, unmoved. One of the younger white belts approached him. Hey, was he actually hitting you? Quentin gave a small nod. A little. You didn't do anything back. I didn't need to. The boy looked confused. But what if he does it again? Quentin looked past him, toward the window. Then I stopped letting him think he's winning. Class ended 10 minutes early. The instructor asked Quentin to stay. Mind if I talk to you real quick? He said, voice low. Sure. Look, Kyle's a little intense. We've been working on that. Just letting you know it's not personal. I know, Quentin said. And if it's too much, I get it. You've got experience, clearly. Maybe the intermediate class would be better? Less ego. Quentin considered it. Looked around the room. The students were packing up, but still glancing his way. I'll stay where I am, he said. The instructor nodded. Okay. Just keep me posted if anything crosses the line. Quentin tilted his head slightly. Hasn't it already? The instructor hesitated. Technically, no. But I'm watching it now. Quentin gave a polite nod. Appreciate it. He walked out without rushing. But before he stepped through the door, he turned, just slightly, and looked back at the mat. One student stayed. Sat on the bench. Still watching. Phone in hand. Not recording yet. But thinking about it. Monday evening. The dojo smelled like damp floor mats and tiger balm. The air was thick, not hot, but full. Too many bodies in one small room. Quentin was early again. Always early. He bowed at the door, stepped to the same back corner, wore the same GI. The white belt looked more relaxed now, less stiff, but still clean. He retied at once. Checked the knot. The others filed in. No greetings. No stares. But more silence than usual. Kyle and his crew came in laughing, but their eyes kept sliding toward the back of the room. Kyle wore a black rash guard under his GI top now, trying to look more advanced. Someone had clearly watched the clip. A short video had gone around over the weekend. 10 seconds. No audio. Just Kyle throwing a sloppy strike, and Quentin brushing it aside like dust. It wasn't viral, but it had circulated enough for whispers. Enough to put Kyle's pride on a crackling fuse. The instructor called for line-up. Quentin stood in the last row, straight and still. He bowed when told. Answered every command softly. OSS. They began drills. This time, closed stance strikes, guard discipline, partner work, rotations every 5 minutes. Kyle was across the room, watching every time Quentin changed partners. Watching how others hesitated. Watching how no one made eye contact with the older man in the white belt. 15 minutes in, Kyle swapped himself in. He wasn't supposed to. The instructor hadn't said rotate, but he walked straight up and said to the kid training with Quentin, Yo, let me run this one. The kid stepped back, shrugged, didn't want to be involved. Kyle faced Quentin, smiled. Back at it, old man. Quentin said nothing, shifted into guard. They began. Drill speed. Kyle's punches were sharp, faster than before, accurate for the first 2 reps. Then the contact started creeping in again. A little too much shoulder in the follow-through. A fist just a shade too close to Quentin's jaw. Not illegal, not a strike, but the intent was clear. Quentin blocked, redirected. No retaliation. Relax your wrist, Quentin said softly after one combo. Kyle frowned. You correcting me now? You'll hurt your thumb like that. Kyle smiled wide. Don't worry about my thumbs, Grandpa. The next strike came fast, a back fist that wasn't in the drill. Quentin caught it midair. No pressure, just contact. Kyle froze. You okay? Quentin asked. Kyle snatched his hand back. Yeah, let's keep going. They rotated again. This time, the instructor noticed the pairing. He called Kyle over. Hey, slow down a little with Shaw. Be respectful. Kyle nodded. Always. But there was something in his walk now, too upright. Something defensive and loose, like someone who already knew he was going to fight later, and was rehearsing the denial. Next drill. Counterattack from half-speed pressure. Partner throws light strikes. You flow. Control the line. Create distance. One move at a time. Kyle lined himself up again. Didn't ask. The instructor was across the room, correcting a white belt who couldn't keep their balance. Kyle stepped in close. Let's go. Show me the magic hands. Quentin exhaled through his nose. Didn't speak. Kyle came fast. Jab, cross, push, all off tempo. No rhythm. No control. Quentin absorbed the contact, used it, shifted him offline, redirected each hit without escalation. But Kyle wasn't playing the drill anymore. He moved into a clinch, grabbed Quentin's GI by the collar and shoulder, a judo setup, and drove his knee upward. Contact. Not hard enough to injure, but hard enough to be deliberate. Quentin stepped back. Reset. The room had gone quiet. Someone dropped their belt on the floor and didn't pick it up. You done? Quentin asked, voice low. Kyle grinned. Just warming up. Quentin turned to leave the mat. Kyle grabbed his wrist. Hard. For 1 second, just one, Quentin didn't move. Then he turned slowly. Looked at Kyle's hand. Then his eyes. Kyle let go. The instructor saw it now. Hey, Kyle, what the hell was that? Kyle threw his hands up. We were just drilling, man. No, you weren't. Kyle pointed. Ask him. He was messing with me. Quentin didn't speak. Just bowed to the instructor. Then to the room. Then walked off the mat. 5 minutes later, in the locker area, the instructor pulled him aside. You all right? Yes. I'm sorry about that. I should have stepped in sooner. It's okay. No, it's not. He's been on edge since last week. I should have split you up. Quentin tied his shoes. Calmly. Look, the instructor said. If you're not comfortable coming back. I'll be back, Quentin said. Next class. The instructor hesitated. You sure? Yes. The instructor nodded. All right. I'll talk to Kyle. Quentin stood. You might want to talk to his friends, too. Yeah, they think he's leading. Outside, the night air was thick and wet. Streetlights buzzed faintly. Quentin stood by the curb, waiting for the bus. Across the street, Kyle and 2 others came out laughing. Too loud. He saw Quentin. Raised a hand. Saluted mockingly. You got moves, man. Kyle shouted. Come back next time. Maybe I'll actually try. Quentin didn't answer. Just looked up at the streetlight. Waiting. Later that night, Quentin sat in his room with a notebook open. Old one. The pages were yellowed, but clean. Written in block letters. 10 breaths, control first. See the student, not the fight. Never be the teacher they'll regret. He stared at the last line. Closed the notebook. Set it back in the drawer. Wednesday night. Next class. Same dojo. Kyle walked in 10 minutes early. Not late anymore. He wore a GoPro chest mount. Just for training footage. His friends laughed when he turned it on. Getting ready for the rematch? He smiled. Documenting greatness. Quentin arrived. Bowed. Walked in. Said nothing. The white belt was tied tighter than usual. Firmer. The instructor looked up. You could see the pause. Glad you're here, he said. Me too. We're doing sparring sets today. I know. You all right being paired? I'll work with anyone, Quentin said. The warm-up was fast. Tension in every shoulder. People kept glancing at the camera on Kyle's chest. Kyle made sure it faced Quentin every time they moved. During stretch, Kyle said just loud enough. He's going to show me what YouTube channel he learned that block from today. Quentin didn't blink. Didn't respond. Pair work started. They weren't partnered at first. But Kyle made sure to rotate into his line again. Drill. High block, low block, counter kick. Controlled. Kyle's control was gone. His kick landed. Light but landed. Quentin didn't react. Blocked the next one. Sidestepped the third. Caught the fourth. Gently, but enough to throw Kyle off balance. You filming this? Kyle said to his friend behind him. Got it, his friend said, laughing. Quentin stepped back. The instructor called out. Last 2 minutes. Keep it clean. Kyle didn't move. He lunged. Fast. Aggressive. Not a drill. And this time, Quentin moved. Still soft. Still fluid. But not submissive. He sidestepped the lunge. Took Kyle's arm gently, turned it, and placed him on the mat. Not slammed. Placed. The room went still. Kyle jumped up. Humiliated. You want to go real? He said, chest rising. Let's go then. Instructor. Kyle. Outside. Now. Kyle didn't move. Quentin stood still. Looked him in the eyes. Be careful, he said. You're confusing your rank with your skill. Kyle blinked. Jaw clenched. What did you say? You heard me. The instructor stepped between them. That's it. Kyle, wait outside. Kyle didn't argue this time. He turned. Kicked the wall on the way out. His friend followed, still recording. The dojo stood silent. The instructor looked at Quentin. You all right? I've been all right. The instructor nodded. Thanks for not escalating. Quentin looked down at his belt, then up at the door Kyle had just walked through. I didn't come here to fight. But he knew now. Someone else did. And next time, they'd bring more than words. Friday night. The dojo was brighter than usual. New bulbs had been installed. Everything looked harsher under that cold white light. The mats, the mirrors, the people. It was a belt evaluation day. Not official promotions. Students had been told they might get bumped up if they showed progress. Kyle showed up early, chest puffed, camera ready. Again. His GoPro was strapped tighter this time. Centered. Full battery. Full ego. Quentin walked in 15 minutes early. Same GI. Same belt. Still white. He bowed. Took his corner. Stretched in silence. A few students nodded at him this time. No words, just small acknowledgments. Kyle noticed. His mouth tensed. He leaned over to his friend and muttered something. They both laughed, short, flat. The instructor called for line up. The mat squeaked under bare feet. Tonight's different, he said. We'll be watching more closely. Notes go on file. No pressure. Just show your focus. Kyle cracked his knuckles. Pressure makes diamonds. The instructor looked at him, unamused. It also makes cracks. They ran drills first. Quentin partnered with a younger teen. He kept the pace steady, offered quiet corrections when asked, but never overstepped. Kyle, meanwhile, moved with visible force. Aggressive pivots, extra loud ki-eyes, slamming his foot down with each turn. The instructor told him twice to tone it down. He smiled both times. Didn't mean it. Didn't change. Then came the sparring rotation. 3-minute bouts. Observed. Light contact. Points-based. Feedback written down at the end. Everyone rotated naturally. Except Kyle. He timed his steps to align with Quentin's line. Made sure they'd face off. And when they did, he grinned like he'd just won something. Quentin said nothing. Just bowed. The instructor stood at the side with a clipboard. Go. Kyle started fast. Too fast. Faked a left. Shot in with a right. Solid contact to the shoulder. Not full force, but firm. Deliberate. Point called. 1-0. Quentin reset. Second exchange. Kyle swept low. Not a legal sweep. More like a trip. Caught Quentin's ankle. He stumbled, caught himself. The instructor raised a hand. Careful, Kyle. Kyle raised both hands. Wasn't my fault. He planted weird. Third exchange, a flurry of strikes. All slightly off the mark, but fast enough to overwhelm. Quentin deflected each one. Didn't strike back. No point called. Kyle stepped back, breathing heavier than he should have been. What's the matter? He said, not quietly. All that mysterious old man energy running low. Quentin didn't answer. Next round, Kyle charged forward. Contact now definitely over the line. A shove to the chest. Not even masked as a strike. Quentin stepped back. Reset. Again. Kyle mocked the motion. Come on. Hit me already. You training or posing? The instructor stepped forward. That's enough, Kyle. Go cool down. I haven't even started. Kyle barked. His face flushed. He's just standing there. He's sparring, the instructor said calmly. You're posturing. Kyle looked around. No one backed him. Even his own friend stayed quiet. Then he did something no one expected. He reached forward and ripped Quentin's belt off. Pulled it free with one motion. Threw it onto the mat. Here, he sneered. Guess you don't need this since you're not fighting. The room froze. No one moved. Quentin looked at the belt. Then at Kyle. The instructor was already stepping forward. Kyle. Outside. Now. But Kyle wasn't done. He walked up close. Too close. Bet you think you're better than us, huh? He said. Voice low now. Meant for Quentin's ears only. Old man, fresh GI. Standing quiet like you're above it all. Quentin spoke quietly. I'm not above you. Kyle's mouth twisted. Then what are you? Quentin answered without blinking. Patient. Kyle shoved him. It wasn't part of the drill. It wasn't a move. It was a plain, open palm shove to the chest. Enough to stagger. Quentin didn't fall. But the room tilted with silence. The instructor was already grabbing Kyle's arm, pulling him back. You're done for tonight. Out. Now. Kyle yanked his arm free. This guy's a fraud. He pointed at Quentin. Thinks he's special cause he's black and old and quiet. You all fall for that wise janitor act. I see through it. No one moved. Not even his friends. The instructor's voice hardened. Go. Or don't come back. Kyle stepped back. Laughed bitterly. This place is a joke. He turned to the rest of the students. Y'all gonna learn the hard way. That guy. That fake belt. He's not what you think. He stormed out. The door slammed. After a long pause, the instructor turned to Quentin. I'm so sorry. Quentin bent down, picked up his belt, retied it. Cleanly. I'm all right. You didn't deserve that. It's not about deserve. He looked around. The room was still quiet, still watching. He bowed. The instructor nodded. Take a break. Or go home if you need. Quentin shook his head. I'll finish the round. Later that night, in the locker room, Quentin sat alone. His phone buzzed once. A message from his daughter. How's karate, Dad? Did you wreck anyone yet, LOL? He stared at the screen for a long time. Typed. Not yet. Deleted it. Typed again, learning patience. Hit send. Meanwhile, on a private Discord server Kyle shared with his friends, a new clip went up. Quentin standing still. Kyle ripping the belt off. The shove. No sound. No context. Just humiliation. Caption. White belt won't even fight back, skull skull skull. The first comment was, yo, post the other one. The sweep one. Saturday morning. The dojo's Google reviews had one new entry. 2 stars. Toxic culture. Favoritism. No room for actual sparring. No name attached. Back at the apartment, Quentin sat at his desk. The notebook was open again. This time he wrote one line. Even monks bleed when provoked long enough. He closed it. Opened a drawer. Inside a folded black belt. Faded. Worn soft. He didn't touch it. Not yet. But he looked at it for a long time. Sunday morning. The dojo was closed. But someone had taped a note to the front window. Written in Sharpie, all caps. Beware of fake black belt and white clothing. Under it, a blurry printout of the Discord clip. Someone had drawn a smiley face on Quentin's face in pen. The instructor texted Quentin that afternoon. Saw the window. Cleaned it up. I'm sorry. We'll talk Monday. You good? Quentin replied. Yes. I'll be there. He still hadn't touched the black belt. But something else had changed. Something deeper than bruises. Something colder than silence. Monday night. The dojo lights flickered once before stabilizing. Rain tapped on the windows, soft at first, then harder, like a drum roll no one had requested. Quentin was already there. Early as always. Same corner. Same ritual. GI folded, belt tied, breath even. The instructor gave him a quiet nod. Not a greeting. A kind of apology without words. You sure you're good to be here? He asked. I'm sure. Let me know if you need a different partner tonight. I don't. The instructor paused, then moved on. Kyle hadn't shown up for the last session. But tonight, he walked in late, 5 minutes after class began. No apology. No eye contact. Hoodie up. No belt. He didn't join the line. Just stood near the door, arms crossed, watching. The instructor noticed. You're not rostered tonight. Kyle shrugged. I'm not training. Just observing. You can do that from outside. Kyle smirked. Cool. I'll wait. The instructor didn't argue. Not yet. The class began with flow drills. Light, mindful movement. Quentin partnered with a teen girl, nervous, but focused. He let her lead. Let her correct him. Built her rhythm up instead of showing her his. She smiled by the end. Whispered, "Thank you," during the bow. Then, sparring rotation. Everyone was calm. No tension. Just breath and motion. Until the door creaked. Kyle stepped inside. Didn't say a word. Just walked across the mats, slow, deliberate. His shoes were still on. The instructor stepped forward. "Kyle, you're not cleared." Off the mat. Kyle kept walking. Straight toward Quentin. "I just want to talk to him." Quentin didn't move. The instructor stepped in between them. "Out. Now." Kyle pointed. "He's not who he says he is." The room went still. "I looked him up," Kyle said. "He's a fraud. Hides behind that belt and acts like he's better than us. I found videos. Old tournaments. That's not him." No one spoke. Quentin didn't blink. Didn't breathe heavy. Just stood. Kyle took one more step. "You think just cause you're old and black and quiet we're all supposed to bow to you?" The instructor raised his voice. "Get out." Kyle moved fast. Faster than anyone expected. He punched Quentin in the face. No warning. No stance. Just a full swing. Straight to the jaw. It landed. Quentin stumbled. His foot slid. He caught himself, but barely. The blow wasn't elegant. Just real. The dojo exploded into noise. Some students screamed. Someone dropped their phone. A water bottle rolled across the floor and hit the wall with a flat plastic thud. The instructor lunged forward, grabbed Kyle by the shoulder. Kyle jerked free and shoved him back, then turned on Quentin again. "You want to fight now, huh? You got something to prove." Quentin straightened. No stance. No flair. Just still. He said one word. "Stop." Kyle ran at him. Raised his fist again. Quentin stepped aside. One step. One shift. Kyle missed. His momentum carried him past. Quentin caught his arm. Not with strength, but with placement. Turned him. Dropped him. Fast. Kyle hit the mat hard. Air left his lungs, with a choked cough. But it wasn't over. Kyle's friends rushed in. 2 of them. No belts. Just street clothes and fury. One grabbed Quentin's GI collar from behind. The other swung wild. Quentin ducked under the grab. The punch missed. He didn't counter. Just turned, flowed between them, redirected the force. One boy tripped over the bench. The other fell forward onto his knees. No strikes. No blood. Just silence. And then the sound came back. The instructor was yelling. People were shouting. A girl cried. Phones were out now. Recording. But the chaos didn't last long. Quentin stepped back. Hands open. He didn't touch anyone again. Kyle groaned from the mat. Rolled onto his side, gasping. "You're crazy," he spat. Quentin looked down. Eyes steady. "You don't know what crazy looks like," he said. Police arrived 9 minutes later. Someone had already called them. Too fast for it to have been just then. Someone had pre-dialed. Been ready. Kyle was sitting up by then, pretending to limp. His friend stood behind him, playing injured. Quentin sat on a bench. Calm. Hands on his knees. Breathing slow. The instructor tried to explain. He didn't start it. One of Kyle's friends cut in. "He attacked us." He defended himself. "They weren't sparring," another said. "He flipped him on purpose. Like a move from UFC or something." An officer knelt by Kyle. "You want to press charges?" Kyle nodded. "My neck's fucked," he whispered. "He went off on me." They walked toward Quentin. Asked him to stand. He did. Didn't resist. Didn't argue. Just looked the lead officer in the eyes. "I was attacked. You injured 3 people. I didn't strike anyone. But you did make contact." Quentin didn't answer. They cuffed him. Hands behind his back. Outside, the rain had stopped. The street glistened. Someone filmed from across the parking lot. Caught the image. An older black man. White GI. White belt. Hands cuffed. Head bowed. A student from the dojo stepped into frame. Tried to say something. Too late. The squad car door closed. The lights flashed. The tires hissed on wet asphalt. Inside, the dojo was silent. The instructor sat alone on the floor, hands shaking. In the corner, a girl picked up a phone someone had dropped. It was still recording. She looked at the screen, rewound, hit play, and watched it again. From the beginning. That was the moment. The one they replayed. The one that started everything. Not the punch. Not the throw. But the way he caught Kyle. How soft it looked. How hard it landed. How impossible it seemed. Monday night became Tuesday morning. The booking photo hit the system at 2:14 a.m. One overhead fluorescent light. A cracked gray wall. Quentin Shaw. Age 57. No priors. Charged with misdemeanor assault. The arresting officer filed it quietly. Routine. He didn't know what was coming. By 6 a.m., a blurry cell phone clip had been uploaded to TikTok. 12 seconds. No intro. No explanation. The caption read, "White belt loses it at our dojo skull." It showed Kyle throwing the first punch. The scuffle. The flip. And then just Quentin sitting. Calm. Hands on knees. It got 3 likes. Then 20. Then 40,000. By noon, a split version appeared on YouTube. Side-by-side breakdown. Commentary added. Okay, here's what nobody's saying. This man is clearly trained. Watch the angle of that redirect. That's not beginner instinct. That's a black belt who's been quiet on purpose. The comment section grew like wildfire. Why was he even arrested? Bro's the John Wick of karate. I want him as my grandpa. This is what restraint looks like. This is racism. Flat out. And underneath, one comment that stood out. Y'all don't even know who that is. The dojo tried to stay neutral. The instructor posted a message in the group chat. Please refrain from commenting publicly. We are cooperating fully. This was an isolated situation, and safety remains our top priority. He didn't sleep that night. Neither did the girl who had saved the full footage. Tuesday afternoon. At a small apartment in Jersey City, a woman sat at her kitchen table. Laptop open. Dojo video paused mid-frame. She zoomed in. Hit pause. Zoomed again. It was the belt. Tied perfectly. The crease. The stance. She knew that posture. She'd seen it once, in 2002. In Athens. On a podium. She opened a search engine. Typed. Black U.S. Olympic Karate Champion 2000s. Scroll. Click. Zoom. There he was. Quentin Shaw. Gold medalist. Shotokan 10th Dan. Coach. Serviceman. Master instructor. Then vanished. Within 24 hours, his name was trending. Not globally, not yet, but enough. Hashtag Sensei Shaw. Hashtag Dojo Injustice. Hashtag He Didn't Strike Back. Clips now included freeze frames, arrows, overlays, slow mo. Martial artists duet the videos, explaining his technique. Others pointed out his calm. How he didn't retaliate. How he just absorbed. Redirected. How he taught without saying a word. The first major article came Wednesday morning. Karate master arrested for defending himself. Who is Quentin Shaw? It covered his early years. Born in Baltimore. First dojo at age 6. By 19, a black belt in 4 systems. Military service. Olympic team selection. National coach. Retirement after his wife passed. Disappearance from the martial arts scene. And now, warehouse worker. White belt. Mugshot. By Wednesday night, the dojo's Google reviews had exploded. You arrested a legend. This man should be teaching your instructors. I wouldn't let my kid train there if you paid me. Discipline over ego? Guess ego won. The instructor posted again. We are devastated by how events unfolded. Mr. Shaw is a respected community member. We are cooperating with all parties and reviewing our internal practices. He drafted it 5 times before posting. He didn't sleep again. Quentin's phone was off. Still in the brown paper evidence bag. He spent his first night in holding. Quiet. Didn't call anyone. Didn't ask for anything. When the officers asked if he wanted to make a statement, he said, I have nothing to explain. But someone else did. Her name was Alana Shaw. His daughter. A software engineer. 29. Lives in Boston. She saw the video like everyone else. Only it wasn't a stranger to her. It was the man who walked her to school every day, holding her lunchbox like it was treasure. She posted a thread. "That man in the video is my dad. You don't know him. He's taught hundreds of students. Some of them now teach. He taught me that silence isn't weakness, that control isn't fear, and that some fights are won just by refusing to throw the first punch." He wasn't hiding. He was giving people a chance to do better. It was shared 40,000 times in 12 hours. Thursday morning, national outlets picked up the story. CBS Morning Update. Former Olympian detained after dojo scuffle. NBC. Karate master accused, then defended by internet. Vice. When the white belt is the deadliest one in the room. Footage now included archival clips. Quentin in 2000. Lighting fast kata. Sparring demonstrations. Award ceremonies. Then, side by side with his mugshot. Friday. His employer released a statement. "Mr. Shaw is a respected team member with a strong work ethic. We stand by his character and await legal resolution." The dojo was closed indefinitely. A sign was taped to the door. "Class canceled. Please watch online." The girl who'd saved the video posted the full uncut version. 15 minutes. No edits. The shove. The restraint. The flip. The calm. And one frame, near the end, where you could see Kyle trying to scramble up, breathless, confused, and Quentin extending a hand to help him up. Kyle never took it. Quentin was released on his own recognizance that Friday night. No press waiting. No crowds. Just one officer who handed him his belongings and said, "Sir, I think you handled it better than most." Quentin nodded. No smile. Just a thank you. His daughter picked him up. In the car, neither of them spoke for 10 minutes. Then she said, "You okay?" He replied, "People are watching now." She nodded. "Good." He looked out the window. The hard part's not what they saw. She waited. It's what they almost did. Online, the movement kept growing. Art of him appeared. Quotes, clips, breakdowns. A few students started a petition. Reinstate Quentin Shaw as an honorary instructor. The dojo never replied, but someone else did. A former Olympic teammate. He posted a photo. You never know who's standing on the mat with you. Some people earn silence. Others just don't deserve a response. That weekend, outside the closed dojo, someone lit a candle. Just one. Placed beneath it, a folded white belt. Clean. Untied. Monday, 9:04 a.m. The first protest was small. 7 people. Handwritten signs. 2 folding chairs. 1 Bluetooth speaker playing lo-fi beats that barely reached the street. They stood in front of the dojo, quiet but steady. A young woman held up a sign that read, "Belt color is not equal to character." Another wore a white belt around his neck like a scarf. A middle-aged man, in work boots and a high-vis vest, had a cardboard sign that simply said, "We see you, Sensei Shaw." By noon, there were 30 people. Then 50. Then news vans. Then city council reps. The dojo had stayed closed since the incident. The front windows had been covered with paper. Someone had removed the outdoor banner. But the address was already viral. Google Maps listed it as former dojo, justice for Quentin rally site. The instructor hadn't spoken publicly since his apology post. Inside, he sat in the office with the blinds drawn, watching the footage again. This time with volume off. It hit different that way. Worse, the hashtags exploded. Hashtag white belt legend. Hashtag let him teach. Hashtag justice for sensei. Hashtag arrest the aggressor. Hashtag who really started it. TikTok duets turned into mini documentaries. Black martial artists across the country stitched together their own experiences. You ever notice how we get extra supervised when we enter with a black GI? I once got told to tone it down after I beat someone in a spar. They love the discipline till it doesn't look like them anymore. Quentin didn't post anything. Still hadn't spoken publicly. But a woman in Harlem, a brown belt under his old school, posted a video. She was crying, but composed. He taught me how to move without apology. He taught me that silence wasn't submission, it was strategy. The way he moved on that mat, that's how he used to defuse fights in parking lots, at bus stops, at bar corners. He's been protecting people who never knew they were in danger. And now he's being punished for not breaking somebody. Her video was reposted by Ava DuVernay, then Viola Davis, then the NAACP. Wednesday night, the first open forum was held in a high school gymnasium. Seats for 200. Over 600 showed. Some stood. Others live-streamed from the bleachers. A sign at the front. Who do we train our children to be afraid of? A local official spoke first. Weekly. Words like ongoing investigation and internal review were thrown around. Then came the instructor. He stood before the mic, wore a plain gray hoodie, spoke without notes. I failed, not just as a teacher, but as a gatekeeper. I let the loudest voices go unchecked. I mistook silence for absence. I ignored what I didn't want to see. And now, the world sees what I let grow under my roof. The room stayed quiet, but the air shifted. By Thursday, the system blinked. The district attorney issued a statement. Given the emerging context, we are reassessing all charges related to Mr. Shaw's case. Translation: they felt the heat. A few hours later, the police department issued a second memo. The responding officers acted within protocol at the time, but additional training on implicit bias and cultural context has been scheduled for the department. Translation: we're not saying sorry, but we're not doubling down either. Then came the petitions. Drop all charges against Quentin Shaw. 320,000 signatures in 48 hours. Launch investigation into dojo abuse incident. 118,000 signatures. Honor Sensei Shaw with national recognition for nonviolent defense. 42,000 and growing. The pressure spread. A major martial arts supplier pulled its branding from the dojo's website. A regional tournament organization suspended its affiliation. 2 of the dojo's senior students resigned publicly in a Medium blog post titled, "What We Refuse to See." Back in Quentin's apartment, his phone buzzed nonstop. He didn't answer most calls, but one message stopped him. "Sensei, if you ever want to teach again, my space is yours. Anytime, any style, any belt. Coach Renzo, Brooklyn ****. He didn't reply, but he read it twice. The media storm reached national scale. CNN ran a segment titled, "Silence, Power, and the Black Belt Who Never Wore One." It opened with footage of Quentin bowing, then clips from the incident, then his Olympic match in 2000. The anchor paused after the segment, said one line, "It's strange, isn't it, that a man trained to win had to suffer this much just for choosing not to." By Friday, something cracked. Kyle's parents released a statement through an attorney. "Our son has been unfairly targeted online. He regrets the altercation and is undergoing counseling for anger management." The internet wasn't having it. A viral reply said, "Imagine being trained, backed, and protected, and still being terrified of someone standing still." Another read, "He didn't regret it until the views hit 6 figures." Friday evening, a group gathered at the steps of City Hall. Hundreds, possibly 1,000. No speeches, just one action. Every person stood, bowed forward, and stayed that way for 1 full minute. Then they unfolded white belts, held them up in silence. The footage was reposted by LeBron James with the caption, "Strength isn't how loud you hit. It's how quiet you can stand. Respect to Sensei Shaw." Inside his apartment, Quentin watched it. Not all of it, just the last part. The white belts held up like candles. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He just walked to the drawer, opened it, took out the old black belt, held it, not to wear, just to remember. That night, his daughter sat with him. They didn't talk about the news. They watched an old Jackie Chan movie in silence, half of it on mute. When the credits rolled, she said, "You know they want you to talk, right?" He nodded. "But I don't have to." "No," she said, "but maybe it's time." He looked at her, then at the TV. Blank screen. Silent room. Finally, he said, "They never listened when I was loud, so I gave them quiet." Monday, 9 a.m. The room wasn't a courtroom. Not yet. It was a hearing chamber, municipal building. Third floor. Cheap carpet. Plastic pitchers of water. Bad coffee in the hall. But the cameras were real. So was the pressure. The sign outside the door read, City Council Subcommittee Hearing. Use of Force and Community Response. Incident 021-44. Everyone knew what it really was. The Shaw hearing. Quentin sat near the back. Suit jacket. No tie. Hands folded in his lap. Expression neutral. This wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about a lawsuit. He was here because they finally asked. And because the world wouldn't let this pass quietly anymore. At the front table sat 5 officials. City legal. Council reps. 1 police liaison. Beside them, a folded printout of the incident timeline. Under it, 3 timestamps in bold. 1. 20 hours, 12 minutes, and 33 seconds. Kyle enters the dojo. 2. 20 hours, 15 minutes, and 47 seconds. Physical contact initiated. 3. 20 hours, 18 minutes, and 4 seconds. Police called. It took 2.5 minutes for a man to lose everything. The first speaker was the dojo's lead instructor. He looked smaller than he had online. Nervous, eyes darting. He adjusted the mic twice. We failed to de-escalate. We didn't assess the power dynamic accurately. Mr. Shaw gave us no reason to question his presence. He was disciplined, polite, professional. The questioning began. Councilwoman Liu, did you witness Kyle initiate the attack? Yes. I saw him strike Mr. Shaw. Councilman Ortega, and your response? I immediately moved to separate them, but Kyle was already escalating. Liu, had there been prior complaints about Kyle's conduct? Unofficial ones. Whispers. I should have paid more attention. Next came the officer who filed the initial arrest. Sergeant Donald Reeve. 42. 19 years on the force. His face was tight, controlled. When we arrived, Mr. Shaw had subdued 3 individuals. He admitted to physical contact. Under protocol, that met criteria for temporary detainment. Ortega, did you review any footage before cuffing him? We received conflicting reports. We were told Mr. Shaw initiated contact. Liu, by whom? One of the injured parties. Liu, you're referring to Kyle, correct? Yes. Liu, did you ask Mr. Shaw for his side of the story? He declined to comment. Liu, did he resist? No. Completely compliant. Liu, did you know who he was? Not until later. Then came the witnesses. 3 students. 2 of them white belts. 1, the teen girl who had trained with Quentin just before the incident. Her voice trembled, but she didn't back down. He didn't hit anyone. He just moved. Like he saw everything coming and decided not to hurt them. Kyle called him a fraud. Said he was faking the belt. I saw him offer to help Kyle up after he got thrown. I saw it. No one made that part up. Then came Kyle. He entered with a cast on his wrist. Doctors had confirmed no break, just bruising, but the wrap made him look fragile. He sat down, adjusted the mic, looked at the table. Didn't look at Quentin. I was scared. I thought he was going to hurt me. I panicked. Liu, you initiated the first strike, correct? I misread the situation. Ortega, were you provoked? Not verbally, but he moved weird, like slow, but like he wanted me to hit him. Liu, do you regret your actions? Yes. I wish I'd handled it differently. There was a pause. Ortega, you've trained how long? For years. Liu, and you thought a man standing still was a threat? He wasn't just standing. He was judging me. Then came the footage. Not just a viral clip, the full one. Security cam from the dojo, synced with audio from a student's phone in the back pocket. They played it without interruption. Minute 1, Kyle enters. Loud. Challenges. Pushes boundaries. Minute 2, the shove. The punch. Quentin's slip. Minute 3, the flow. The redirect. The drop. Then the freeze frame. Quentin's hand extended. Kyle on the mat. Not taking it. Silence. One official cleared their throat. Do we know how Mr. Shaw achieved that level of control? Someone in the audience said quietly, because he's been holding back for 30 years. Then Quentin was asked to speak. He stood, didn't walk to the mic, just spoke from his chair. No notes, no anger. I trained in Japan under Tanaka-sensei. He told me once, a real martial artist only breaks one thing, the pattern. That stuck with me. Every room I walk into, I'm already in someone's narrative. The strong black man, the threat, the imposter, the mystery. So I learned to say less. Because I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying not to make you scare yourself. He paused. I never wanted to be anyone's story. But you made me one. So now I'm here. Not to fight, but to confirm. I was never the problem. The applause wasn't loud, but it was full. A long, held rhythm of acknowledgement. After a recess, Councilwoman Liu announced, given the evidence and testimony, we recommend all charges be formally dropped. Furthermore, we advise internal review into police protocol and martial arts facility conduct in cases of racial profiling and disproportionate use of force allegations. Then she turned to Quentin directly. Mr. Shaw, on behalf of this committee, we apologize for what you endured, and we thank you for not turning silence into violence, but into truth. That night, Quentin walked home. No escort, no press trailing, just him, in the same old shoes. He passed a brick wall where someone had spray painted. Strength isn't silent, it's listening. He paused, touched the wall lightly, then kept walking. Back at home, he turned on the TV, muted the sound. The news played anyway. Headlines like, charges dropped, respect raised, council bows to a white belt. 10th Dan, one truth. His daughter brought him tea. He looked at her. Think it's over? She smiled. No. He nodded. Good. 2 weeks later, the courthouse was different from the hearing room. Marble floors, metal detectors, dry air and deep echoes. At the front steps, reporters stood behind ropes, cameras ready, microphones stretched like limbs. Inside, the courtroom buzzed with a low hum. Not loud, just full. Some people came because they cared. Some came because they wanted closure. Some came because they wanted content. But almost no one came for Kyle. Quentin arrived without fanfare. Gray slacks, white shirt, no tie, same posture. He walked in with his daughter beside him. He didn't look at the cameras, didn't flinch when someone yelled his name. He just stepped through the door and sat down. The judge entered at 10:01 a.m. Honorable Marissa Gordon, stern, seasoned, the kind of face that didn't twitch when things got tense. Today's session concerns review and ruling on municipal code violations, pending charges, and potential disciplinary actions regarding the incident identified as file #021-44. The clerk began reading names, then charges, then dismissals. Count 1, assault, dismissed. Count 2, resisting arrest, dismissed. Count 3, disorderly conduct, stricken from record. The courtroom held its breath. Quentin didn't react. The judge cleared her throat. Based on evidence, cross-testimonies, and independent footage, the court affirms that Mr. Quentin Shaw acted within the bounds of lawful self-defense. No excessive force was identified. No retaliatory behavior confirmed. In fact, Mr. Shaw demonstrated restraint beyond expectation. She paused, then added, however, this case reveals a deeper issue, one that exists outside the reach of courtroom rulings. The law may judge conduct, but it cannot yet judge the consequences of assumption. A murmur passed through the gallery, soft, like wind shifting through leaves. Then came Kyle. Same wrist wrap, same downward gaze. His attorney spoke for him, requested leniency, stated his client was in therapy, blamed adrenaline, youth, social pressure, asked that Kyle be given a second chance. No one interrupted, not even Quentin. The judge leaned forward. You attacked a man who never touched you first. You lied to officers. You used your belt as license, not responsibility. Kyle stared at the floor. You will attend mandatory community service, public apology sessions, and a 6-month ban from all certified martial arts institutions in state. A beat. Further violations will result in permanent blacklisting from sanctioned dojos. No jail, no fine, no criminal record, just suspension and shame. The internet would carry the rest. When court adjourned, Quentin stood, bowed slightly to the judge, then turned to leave. Kyle's eyes briefly met his, and for the first time, no smirk, no heat, just confusion, like someone trying to read a language they were never taught. Outside, the crowd gathered. Cheering broke out. Not wild, just relieved. A chant started. Respect the belt. Respect the man. Respect the belt. Respect the man. Signs waved again. Control is a form of power. The strongest one stood still. We don't forget, Sensei. Quentin didn't stop for interviews. He walked to a small bench down the block. Saturday. Took off his jacket. Breathed in. Let the noise pass. A boy, maybe 10, maybe 12, walked up. Nervous. He held a small card in his hands. Quentin looked up. The boy didn't speak at first. Just handed him the card. On it a drawing. Crayon sketch. Quentin, standing still in a GI. White belt tied tight. In his hand, an open palm. Facing the viewer. Behind him, shadows, chaos, fists flying. But he wasn't flinching. He was just holding. Quentin looked at the boy. Did you draw this? The boy nodded. My mom said you didn't fight back because you're strong. I wanted to show that. Quentin nodded. Thank you. The boy smiled and walked off. Didn't ask for a selfie. Didn't wait for praise. He just disappeared into the crowd. That night, the city news ran a headline. Verdict delivered, but the story doesn't end. One anchor closed with, "We've seen justice served." But it came in two flavors, public and personal. One man was bruised in body, the other in spirit. Only one chose to heal both. On Twitter, someone asked, "So, does Quentin Shaw go back to teaching now?" The top reply, "He never stopped." Later that week, a closed-door council meeting approved a new motion, mandatory bias training in community martial arts programs, annual evaluations on instructor conduct and discipline balance, a public statement of ethics for all belt-awarding institutions. It wouldn't fix everything, but it wasn't nothing. Back in his apartment, Quentin stood by the drawer, opened it again. The black belt still rested there, untouched. He picked it up, held it, then walked to the mirror. Not to wear it, just to look. He folded it, placed it beside the white one on the table. Two belts, two journeys, same man. On Saturday, a local school reached out, offered their gym, said the community wanted to host a public seminar in his name. Call it Stillness and Strength, the Quentin Shaw session. He said yes, under one condition. Everyone wears a white belt. No hierarchy, no order, just people, moving, together. They agreed. 1 year later, the dojo had a new name now. The old one had been stripped from the signage months ago, scrubbed for maps, deleted from search indexes. In its place, Shaw Center for Movement in Mind. No belts, no trophies, no rankings, just mats and breath. Outside, the building looked the same, still tucked between a vape shop and a used car dealer. Still half forgotten if you weren't looking for it. But inside, everything had changed. The mirrors had been taken down. In their place, photos. No frames. Just cloth prints hung from bamboo rods. They showed people moving, posing, training. Not perfect, just present. One of them showed an older black man in a white belt, standing calmly as two students sparred behind him. You couldn't see his face, just his shoulders, and his posture. Still, balanced. The first annual memorial session began at 10 a.m. No one rang a bell. No one gave a speech. The space filled slowly. People removed their shoes, bowed at the entrance. Not to tradition, but to intention. Everyone wore white belts, even the instructors. Some tied them wrong. Some knotted them twice. No one corrected anyone. That was the point. At the center of the room, a single cushion rested on the mat. Next to it, a folded GI top. And beside that, the belt, the real one. Frayed black, 10 red bars. burned at one edge from a candle mishap long ago. It wasn't there as proof. It was there as truth. A young man stepped forward, tied his belt, faced the room. He was Kyle. Slimmer now. Clearer eyes. He bowed. Spoke just loud enough. I was the first student here to raise my voice. Now I'd like to be the last to do it today. He stepped back. No one clapped, but someone bowed deeper. Then the movements began. No instruction. No orders. Just kata. Flow drills. Breathing work. Side by side, strangers moved like water, mimicking forms they only half remembered, or were just learning. But it wasn't about technique. It was about presence. In the back, a teenage girl sat beside her mom. She held a card in her hand, the one with the drawing. She never gave it to him. Didn't have to. She'd made a copy, framed it, gave the original to the center. It hung near the entryway now. Some stopped to look. Some didn't, but all felt it. At 11:37 a.m., a bell did ring. Once. Not to start, but to pause. A speaker crackled to life. Someone began reading from a letter. To every student I never taught, and every teacher who never saw me. Remember, power isn't in your strike. It's in the moment you choose not to use it. A pause. If someone fears you for being still, let them. Their panic is not your burden. Another pause. And if they ever ask why you didn't fight back, tell them, asterisk I did. Just not the way you wanted, asterisk. The voice faded. Silence returned. Not heavy, not sad, just whole. After the session ended, people lingered. Some sat on the edge of the mat. Others shared tea outside. A few traded stories, all beginning the same way. I never met him, but it feels like I did. One woman, a former Olympian, left a medal behind, laid it next to the black belt. A small note attached. For the fight you didn't choose. For the win no one gave you. For the example that taught us more than gold ever could. That night, the center dimmed. Only one light left on. A soft spotlight above the corner cushion. The place where Quentin had once sat. Where he didn't correct, didn't boast, didn't raise his voice. Only observed, and moved when it mattered. Across the city, news outlets ran quiet features. Not headlines, just reflections. The sensei who taught us stillness. How a belt can break a system. 1 year since the bow that changed everything. No outrage this time. Just echo. A podcast did a tribute episode. It closed with a simple sentence. There are stories we tell to explain power. And then there are stories that become power. In Boston, his daughter lit incense by her window. Said nothing. Just watched the smoke curl upward. She wore one of his old shirts. Too big. Faded blue. In the pocket, a folded note. His handwriting. Block letters. Never teach fear. Just teach readiness. She kept it there. Always. That same night, somewhere far from the city, in a private dojo with no name, a group of masters sat in silence. One of them spoke. We never offered him a hall of fame. Another answered. He never asked. Another. Do we give him one now? The oldest shook his head. He already earned something better. Outside that unnamed dojo, nailed to the wall, was a wooden plaque. Freshly carved. No flowers. No fanfare. Just 5 words. He never raised his voice. And underneath, scratched in smaller lettering. But we heard him anyway. They're gone. But we remember.